Are the Dallas Cowboys overlooking the New York Giants? All that and more in this episode of the Locked On Cowboys podcast.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cowboys. Locked On Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. You can check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. Landon, we're going to preview this Giants-Cowboys game, America's game of the week on Sunday. I'm sure Fox wish they could pick a different game. Do you think there's any possibility that the Cowboys are overlooking this Giants team and that we could see a really close game or even an upset on Sunday?
I think that's what's kind of funny about this game is that I don't that's the thing is the Cowboys are huge favorites in this game. So I think now it's 17 points at home, favorites for this game, and I think that the easy storyline would be: is this a trap game? Right? Is this a game where the Cowboys overlook it? But I don't think it is. They lost last week to Philadelphia. They know that they have to stack wins. It's an NFC East opponent now. If you want to have this conversation next week, I think that to me is more of the trap game than this game. But this game, the Cowboys know they need to win. They have to win all their NFC East games basically at this point if they want to have any shot at winning the NFC East title. So I think that there is a lot of things that could make this a trap game. This is obviously a Giants team that is in absolute free fall. This is a team that is looking for a reason to quit the season at this point. The Cowboys are playing at home. There are elements here for the kind of typical letdown game. But I think the fact that the Cowboys lost to the Eagles last week, it's an NFC East opponent. I think those are all reasons that the Cowboys aren't going to necessarily look past this game.
I will say, historically, at least in my lifetime, this is 100% been a game that the Cowboys either lose outright or they just keep the Giants around too long. I will say here's the difference for me. I think in the past, and even this year when the Cowboys got upset, it was a game on the road against a mobile quarterback in the Arizona Cardinals, right? And they were coming off a big win against the Jets the week before. You mentioned the loss. I think that's the thing. Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott have been really good at bouncing back after a loss. That's just something that they do really well. The other thing is this game is at 4:25 Eastern rather than 1 o'clock. That's right. I know I don't know why that matters, but it does. If this game was at 1 o'clock, I could see the Cowboys sleepwalking through the first half. But when it's a 4:30 kickoff and it's America's game, I just think that you're going to see the Cowboys fired up for this one.
And again, this is not a preview for next week's game, but next week's game is the 10 o'clock on the East Coast.
So that's it's an early game, early kickoff.
Early game. So it's like that seems to me more to fit the bill of that kind of letdown game. The Cowboys, like you mentioned, the Cowboys have been incredible about bouncing back from losses. I think they have fire in their belly still from losing the Eagles game. They want to get that taste out of their mouth. And they're going to slap that taste out of the Giants' mouth, unfortunately, coming on Sunday. And not so much, look past this or get sluggish. I think, if anything, if they struggle early on, I would I would think it would more likely be a case where they're pushing too hard and things are just kind of,
they want to blow it open too quickly.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. So, but I don't think this is a situation where the Cowboys are overlooking or, not focused on the Giants. I think if anything, they want to get past that Eagles game. They want to destroy the Giants in order to kind of keep inside the realm of possibilities of winning the NFC East.
It also doesn't help that this is the second straight road game for the Giants. They actually had to play at Las Vegas last week. They went back home to New York, now traveling back to Dallas. It's just a lot of travel for a team that's also really banged up. And I think that's the other part that comes to me. They're without Daniel Jones, and Tyrod Taylor. They're starting Tommy DeVito, Joe Pesci's character on Goodfellas. We were talking about that pre-show. On top of just the quarterback, you're missing your right tackle in Evan Neal. You're missing your number one offensive weapon, in the passing game and Darren Waller. Your number one cornerback, Adoree Jackson, is gone. They traded away Leonard Williams, who, if you listen to the crossover show every dayers, you heard Patricia talk about that loss and how big of a downgrade it was in the first game without him. Like the run defense just absolutely got lost in that game. I just don't know how much talent the Giants have. If this game is close, let's say it's a one-score game in the fourth quarter, even then, I don't know if they have enough to stay, kind of keep the Cowboys away.
Yeah, I imagine, by the end of the third quarter, DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons walking Tommy DeVito into a room with him standing in front, and then him realizing what's happening. No, boom. That's honestly, like, it's easy for us to kind of sit here and examine what's going on, but this is a terrible matchup for the Giants, and it's just a lot of things that are going against them right now are not going to be helped by where the Cowboys are, right? The Cowboys are an angry, hungry team that wants to get after it. The Cowboys are an incredible pass rushing team. That's one of the strengths of their team. The Giants can't protect anybody at this point.
Yeah.
Having a mobile quarterback in Tommy DeVito, I mean, he does seem to be able to run around a little bit, which I think is going to help him. He's going to be running around a little bit.
So.
But yeah, I think you mentioned it. Like, the other side of the ball is not any better for them. And I think that they're going to have all kinds of problems, with the loss of Leonard Williams, all the defensive backs that are going to be missing. They're really going to have a hard time to kind of continually stopping this Cowboys offense, which, I think part of them is going to be spending a good portion of this game trying to get the run game back on track against, obviously, like you mentioned, a struggling Giants run defense. So I would look for the Cowboys to score often and early, and then try to spend the rest of the game, kind of trying to control it through the run game and trying to get their rushing attack back on track.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not super optimistic about the rushing game, but we're going to talk about that part of the Cowboys offense because everything else has been clicking. Let's get to that next. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. I'm actually wearing my PrizePicks shirt right now. I got it in the mail just a couple of days ago. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS because it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, all you have to do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. I love how many different players and stats that you can choose from. I also love their reboot policy, which will reboot your entry if one of your players gets injured in the first half and then does not return for the second half. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. It's absolutely fantastic. I play them every single Sunday. I can't recommend it enough. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. The show is also brought to you by Jase Medical. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. This is absolutely fantastic because now you can go on extended travel. You don't have to worry about supply chain issues. You are covered. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics for Cialis or Viagra. And this is all possible because of our friends at Jase Medical. Go online right now at jasemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medications. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jase. I am thankful for the service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut my pills in half just to have them last year. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year supply. I also ordered an antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than my local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. If you or someone you love would like to get some peace of mind by knowing that you'll have a year supply on any daily meds, go to jasemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. Locked On is kicking up our coverage with Locked On NFL Kickoff Live. Each Friday, Locked On will go live at 2 p.m. Eastern on every Locked On NFL YouTube channel. Hosts Tanisha Batiste, Jarvis Davis, and Kyle Krabs will break down every game on the NFL slate to get you ready for your team's matchup, your fantasy lineups, your betting angles, and more. Plus, get the in-depth local analysis from our stable of NFL hosts across the country who know these teams better than anyone else. Find Locked On NFL Kickoff Live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern on any Locked On NFL YouTube channel. Landon, let's talk about the Cowboys' run game, which has basically been non-existent this season. We heard Jerry Jones this morning on 105.3 The Fan talk about the run game, and he basically said, I'm okay with the Cowboys throwing the ball early to be able to run the ball later. Do you expect that to be the case again here on Sunday?
I hope so, because I do think that we've shown that the passing game is what is the motivating factor of this offense. When they can get the game going early, then it just seems to kind of open things up in the run game a little bit better. They struggle with trying to the kind of classic establish the run. They're just not the type of running game team that they were last year or the year before that, where they could submit teams to their will. I think a lot of that has to do with Terrence Steele's ongoing health stuff. That right side is not quite as dominant a run blocking side as it was last year. And I think it makes sense that, when the Cowboys go out there and start throwing the ball early, they have success. And I think it opens things up for the run game to be more efficient. And I think that played out last Sunday. Despite the fact that the Cowboys lost, you saw the defense kind of getting worn out. You saw the defense kind of taking a step or two back to try to be concerned about CeeDee Lamb going over the top as opposed to the running game. And then what did that do? That increased Tony Pollard's yard per carry by almost a yard between the first and the second half. So I do think that, again, going back to McCarthy's comments in the offseason, he talked about wanting to be more efficient in the run game, not necessarily being a run-dominant team. So I think this is a way that you can get efficiency in the run game, make the defense respect the pass, make the defense back off a little bit, make the defense consider taking that second safety out of the box and putting him back because we're going to attack down the field. And then that opens things up a little bit more underneath Pollard.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the Giants do in this game because I saw the stat from Mina Kimes, I believe it was 2 days ago. The Cowboys are number one in the NFL on offense against man coverage. And the Giants are dead last in the NFL in EPA per play in man coverage. Seems like they actually run the most man-to-man coverage. No Adoree Jackson this week. It's going to be two rookies.
It's just like every single angle you look at, it's like, sorry, Giants.
Yeah, but okay. Here's the reason why I'm always a little hesitant to say that. I saw the stat from FanDuel the other day that like 97% of bettors are on the Cowboys minus 17 this week. And that always makes me a little nervous. Like,
when the line is that big and 97% are taking the line,
it's a little scary.
Well, look, the Cowboys, as far as we're concerned, unless you're putting money on this game, then you may have other concerns. But as far as we're concerned, the Cowboys just need to win the game. I don't really care if they cover the spread or not. But it does make you nervous that everybody's like, going one way and everything looks one way. That's when things zag. You're right.
Here's for me. If on offense, the Giants just make some ridiculous throws and it's great catches, you can live with that. But what I would like to see from the Cowboys more than anything else in this game is just to play a clean game. Like, get rid of the pre-snap penalties. Stop taking a timeout on 3rd and 10, backed up in your own area in the third quarter or whatever. Stop with the offsides on 3rd and 7, right? Like when you're in prime rushing position. I just want to see them clean up some of that stuff because to me, that's what's going to help them actually beat some of the elite teams is not beating yourself in these situations.
Yeah. Just playing a clean game. I think it's going to be infinitely easier at home than it was, especially in Philly. Right. Yeah. I definitely think that honestly, if they just play a very straightforward standard game, they should blow the doors off the Giants based on all the reasons that we said. So it like I said, what they need to avoid is trying to go out there and blow them out. Just go play your game.
Trying to score 40 points on one drive.
Yeah. You'll win if you just go play your game. Don't need to putting the extra sauce on it at this point. The Giants have thoroughly sauced themselves at this point. So just go and eat.
Yeah. And we saw this last week. I was fortunate enough. I don't know if fortunate is the right word. To cover the Raiders-Giants game last week. The Raiders had 8 sacks against the Giants. And this is a Raiders team that I believe up until last week, there was no other player than Max Crosby that had more than 1 sack on the season. They were able to get after them. So if you, in this game, Dak, on 3rd and 12, you don't have to try to throw a YOLO ball or a hero ball. It's okay to punt, play the field position game, lean on your defense, and just try to win the game that way. I think if the Cowboys get a little too aggressive, I could see this being a game where, man, you have a couple tipped interceptions or a fumble, and all of a sudden this is a 14-13 game going into the fourth quarter. You don't want any part of that. Just play
round into the ball. The ball's oblong. It's going to bounce weird ways. Make it as round as you can by playing as vanilla as you can. The talent disparity is massive. Do not give them a way to balance the field, right? Just keep the talent disparity the way it is. Play a clean game and get out there without any injuries. And with the win, I think all Cowboys fans will be thrilled with that. We don't need style points. We just want to get the win, get out of there without injuries, and move on to the next one.
Now, one last thing, knock on wood. Dak has played really well against the Giants, like throughout his entire career. I mean, basically, if you just remove that 2016 season, his rookie year, he's been incredible, especially at home. I would imagine that Dak is going to have a good game on Sunday, and I think he's going to get off to a hot start. I think CeeDee Lamb, especially now that Dory's not playing, I think CeeDee's going to have a big game. I mean, that's what gives you the most confidence, is that Dak plays really well against NFC East opponents.
Well, he plays really well against NFC East opponents. He plays really well against the Giants. He plays really well at home. Yeah. So, I mean, this is it's kind of like I said. There are lots of angles here that you look at and you're like, Giants, it may not be your week. Anything can happen any given Sunday. Still a thing. But having said all those caveats, it sure doesn't look good for the Giants being able to stop Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb specifically. I also imagine that Ferguson is likely to have a big day too. The Cowboys quarterbacks usually have big tight end days against the Giants. I don't imagine this is going to be any different.
I'm going to make a prediction, though. I think this is Brandon Cooks' best game as a Cowboy. I think he gets to like 75 yards and a touchdown. I think they try to make him a focal point in the offense this week, get him some early touches in the game, using him on some, over routes and slants just to try to get him more confident in the offense. So there's my one prediction for the Sunday. I think Brandon Cooks has a big game.
I'll add to that. I think that that's going to happen. And I think part of the reason that's going to happen is that we will see a little bit more of CeeDee Lamb playing in the X and outside a little bit, because you don't necessarily need to play whack-a-mole like any one of these corners will do against CeeDee Lamb. So you might as well line them out outside to give some of these other guys opportunities inside to open things up for the Z. And we talked about that the previous week before we played the Eagles, that having CeeDee on the outside at the X, we thought could help Cooks and Gallup and Tolbert and all these guys a little bit, kind of getting opportunities in different spots and open things up a little bit on the outside.
All right, let's make our official predictions for Week 10, Giants at Cowboys next. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. This time of year, it can be a lot for a lot of people, and it's natural to feel some sadness or anxiety about it. I know that, like, for me, once we get past the new year, I can get some of that seasonal depression. A lot of it's just because of where I live, where you don't see the sun for months at a time. But adding something new and positive to your life can counteract some of those feelings. Therapy can be a bright spot amid all the stress and the change, something to look forward to make you feel grounded and to give you the tools to manage everything else that's going on in your life. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's done entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for any reason at no additional charge. Find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. Everydayers, we'll be back on Monday to break down this Giants-Cowboys game. But right now, we are going to give our predictions Landon, who do you have winning this game and why? I'm not sure if I could tell by your tone in the first 20 minutes of the show.
It's going to be a tough game for the Giants. I think, it's hard not to look at all the different angles, especially the key aspects of what happens in these games, and just feel like, sometimes you run into a buzzsaw. And this week, I think the Giants were kind of, hobbled and limping into a situation where they're facing a hungry lion, in this case, Micah Parsons and crew, right? I'm picking the Cowboys to win. I'm going to pick them to win, I think 35-17. I just think that this is a situation where this may be a closer game, at points, closer being, only 2 touchdowns. But I just feel like, there's too many spots where the Giants are weak and the Cowboys are specifically strong. And those mismatches are vast, right? And the mismatch between Dak's passing attack versus what the Giants have in the secondary, the mismatch between the pass rush versus what the Giants have to block the pass rush. I just think those are such strong forces in these games, and the mismatch is so one-sided that it's going to make it a very uphill battle for the Giants. And you've got a rookie undrafted quarterback, and you're asking him to do the impossible in a lot of ways. So I think, we'll go out there. They'll put out great effort because they want to beat the Cowboys. It's an NFC East opponent. There's pride on the line. Brian Daboll's an incredible coach still. I'm not, overshadowing that at all.
Martindale's going to send about 9 guys every play.
Well, especially now, right? That they got called out for leadership issues. They're going to need to be more aggressive to kind of counteract a lot of the rumblings that are going on in their locker room right now. Things are not going well in Giants land, guys. But having said all that, I'm picking the Cowboys to win 35-17.
I know a lot of people are saying that you're not going to learn anything about the Cowboys the next 3 weeks because you play the Giants, the Panthers, and then the Commanders at home. I'm going to go the other way. I think you will learn some stuff about the Cowboys. If Dallas comes out and they sleepwalk through the first half and there's just no sense of urgency and they just show up and think they can win this game, I'll be a little concerned, honestly.
Yeah.
But if they come out and in the first quarter, this game is over, the Cowboys jump up 14-0 and they just don't let the Giants hang around, I'll actually be really encouraged because this is what good teams are supposed to do. You're supposed to go out there, dominate early, and then in the second half, you can kind of start to pull things back a little bit, get guys healthy. Don't let bad teams hang around because you just never know what can happen late in these games. As you mentioned, that ball is a weird shape. It bounces in funny and mysterious ways. Put them out of their misery early in the game, and then let's move on to next week. So I'm going to pick – I haven't picked the Cowboys in a long time. I will pick the Cowboys in let's go 28-16. How's that for a score? Giants cover, Cowboys win.
I like it. At least you're getting them to cover. So I think somehow that fulfills the curse that we have, the unspoken curse that you're not allowed to pick the Cowboys. So I think that covers in this situation.
Yeah, just play a clean game. Again, things are going to happen. The Giants are going to make nice plays. There'll be tip passes and stuff, but just limit the penalties, limit the dumb stuff that you can control on your side of the field.
Look, you lost last week to a good Eagles team. You played good football. Let's continue to play good football, and just continue to build on it. Not this kind of rocker back and forth, good, bad game, good. Like, let's continue to build and get better.
Yes.
This
show
is an
some
opportunity.
Consistency.
Yeah, this is an opportunity to show some consistency. You have some tougher games a little bit further down the road near the end of the season. Let's take this opportunity to kind of straighten some things out, to get things clean for those games, win some games, and then set yourself up so that the latter half of the season actually has meaning and could potentially set you up for a playoff run.
Absolutely. All right. That is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen every day. Again, everydayers, we'll be back on Monday to break down everything from this game. Go check out our show on YouTube. We are free and available on all platforms. Go follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus_Mosier. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you right back here on Monday.